Good morning again. Yes. I just did a video regarding a dream that I had, but I now want to, what came to my mind just a moment ago. Sorry, come on, sit down. That's my little doggy. Yes, Lily. I have all three of them with me in bed. Yeah, I want to talk about this, just something that's coming to my mind now. I was watching a video yesterday, and the video was about this man, young man, and he was faced with ritual abuse, satanic ritual abuse. It was more like a documentary, and in this documentary begins with, it's just an amateur documentary. It interviewed this guy's life, and they're at this site. It could have been in Utah, or even Nevada or something, somewhere out there. A very deserted area, a lot of land, and some person, young girl, was killed. I wasn't familiar with that particular case, but it was supposed to be a big case, that people were looking for her, and they found her remains, pieces of her remains. Yeah, you heard me right. How awful. And they got the guy that did it. And it was two young men discussing this, and they were at the site where they found the girl's remains. And then one of those guys started to discuss about his life. And that's what I kind of want to talk about. This was a Caucasian man. Young, he looked very young. Mid to late 20s, he kind of looked like. But he's probably a little older, actually. And he was married. And he discussed what happened to him. Now, why I say it like that, he was a Caucasian fellow. My growing up, I thought the illusion was that the white race in America had it easy, that they were all happy, that they all had money, they didn't have any worry, and only black people had worries. Only black people were poor, had to work hard to survive, and all the troubles of being a person of African ancestry in the Americas, and how you receive a lot of racism, a lot of closed door opportunities, at least in my life. It wasn't perfect, but it wasn't the worst either. But listening to this man's story, and I think the reason why I'm giving this story is to let you know that you're not alone, that what you may be going through, your neighbor might be going through, but they're quiet about it. They may be outside in a facade of being happy, have it together. And as he discussed, this man, he talked about that all these things, he would wake up at night or in the morning and find blood all on the bed, bruises, all these things on him. And he became afraid to go to sleep, so he would do things just to try to stay awake. And he remembers something. He had a relative, here you go again, a relative, his great-grandfather had stayed by. And the great-grandfather came in his room, but then again he blocks out, he doesn't remember what happened, but he just knows that he would wake up with his body feeling exhausted, bruises, bleedings, things like that, and this will go on. And yes, he did discuss with his parents, says, hey, I'm afraid to sleep. All these things are happening. I don't understand why. He discussed it. And his parents would just say, oh, just deal with it. Just deal with it. And I look at his face. He had a beautiful looking face. Slim fellow, very blue eyes. He had a cap on. It was cold weather. He had those, like I call the lumberjack shirts that keep you, those thermal shirts. And he had this wool, very heavy cap on. And his buddy too. But he had a very unique face, very beautiful looking face. Very, very, very nice. So he doesn't have a face that looks hardened or anything like that. And he almost reminded me of the Jesus character. In the modern day movies, they get a Caucasian fellow with very lean features and very blue eyes, very serene looking. That's what he looked like. But regardless of what he looked like, this young man been through hell and back, and the tortures. And he was discussing this and how fearful he was growing up. And he does meet, get a girlfriend, and they do marry, and they look like really a nice couple. And the wife was saying the first half of the marriage, everything was ideal. The husband, I forget how he dressed, but very carefree. Yeah, I think he had sported the longer hair, and the clothes were, he might go topless and shirtless, and sandals, and very carefree. He likes sports, outdoors, happy-go-lucky. And then the second half of their marriage, he got conservative and he cut his hair short. He was very serious. And the wife was concerned. And I think the guy said at one point, the wife was being interviewed too. Youngish looking wife. Same age as him. They look a lot, the same age. But they both had that young feel to them. They look relatively young. He was involved with the church, and even though he was involved with the church, the Christian church, all these things were happening in his life. I think his parents went to church. They were, outwardly, goodly Christian people, and he was involved with the activities in the church, but he's not getting relief. And I remember he was saying how, he wants to feel free, he doesn't want to feel this bondage, but he doesn't really know what's happening. He remembered that, I think he said he had gone away somewhere. Maybe he was going to go away for school or something, college, something. He was going away, and his mother gave him a family album. Get this now. The family album, photo album, was about him being tortured. Pictures of him being bound and gagged. He showed some of it. Things that he could show. And, they blocked out things that had other family members in it, for their privacy. Because this is being aired. This is part of like a documentary that's being posted to YouTube. And I'm like in shock. Now this is his mother, his birth mother, giving him this. The mother didn't want him to forget, and it's part of the programming, of being tortured. They wanted him to feel that he's always being watched, that the parents are in control over his life, that he's like a slave. Could you imagine a mother giving a child, a teen or whatever, to remember them by something you being tortured? How satanic. Awful. And then he's continuing on his story, and he wants to feel, what this thing is happening to him, he wants to be free of it. And his wife remembers him saying, that they're in the church, and they gave a call, a call for, whatever, salvation or deliverance, whatever, and he went up. And he says he remembers that something happening within him. But at that point, he started to have memories. And he started to remember what happened to him as a child. And so my mentioning this story is, many of you who watch my channel would know that I used to be a Christian. I was introduced to Christianity maybe at the age of 20 or 21. And I used to go to church, and I used to participate. And in 2013, I said I had enough of church, because I felt I wasn't getting a breakthrough. Something was missing. My life was still my life. And I think this is the theme of why I'm doing this video. Now, this person that's in this documentary about being sadistically tortured with satanic ritual abuse by his parents and relatives, they were all in on it. They were sexually abusing him, torturing him, and who knows what else, because again, he blocked out a lot of stuff. And like this person that they found, in the document that discussed this young lady, a child that was kidnapped from this community and killed satanically. And they showed the area where she was murdered, and there was these underground tunnels underneath this property. It was like an abandoned, dilapidated house of some type. It looked weird. And it had 666 on it, and there was a tunnel, they said, and then they bought it up. I mean, not these two people doing the document, but it was a site that was boarded up. And there were burnt Bibles there. Very, very eerie feel, this location. But they made a point of saying they're underground tunnels, and it was a brand new community. The houses are worth from $500,000 to $800,000, and the developer, I forget, it's something horse, ghost horse, something, some weird name, and it was being vandalized. It was like a horse, a statue of a horse for this community at the entryway of this new developed community. And then they finally stopped vandalizing it, because now all the houses are built, and I guess they're selling, buying their houses there, whatever. And it's nearby there where this girl was tortured. And so I think the point of telling us that was that you have underground passageways, and they think people might be getting kidnapped from this area or getting access underground to do who knows what. And these guys are now Christians, and that they stressed about, relationship with, Christianity, and how, Jesus was the answer. But I'm thinking, okay, let's say for him Jesus was the answer. Now, he was involved in church, the families that he was living with, they all went to church. All of them did. And outwardly, they were people of the community that was respected, especially his great-grandfather. These were pillars of the community. So, what happened to Jesus then? How come that God did not protect him from satanic ritual abuse? Or that community, all these other people? See, the Bible is just that, a book. And that's why you were able to see this Bible on the ground that was burnt. Someone had lit a Bible on fire and ripped it up. That Bible doesn't have any more power than a newspaper or any other novel. It's just a book. Now, some of the information could be very interesting. But again, as in the New Testament of the Bible, this Jesus character says he's coming back. It's about 2,000 years. Now, where is this Jesus? Where is he hanging out? Okay, he's alive, because remember they said Jesus is not dead. So he's alive somewhere, having maybe fun somewhere, being a construction worker, because again, he's supposed to be preparing a place for you, but he didn't come back yet. And meanwhile, people who believe in him are being tortured, being killed, and yet they go to church, they pray, all these things, but this Jesus person is not protecting. So if he can't protect you where he is, why did he bother to leave? He should have stayed so he could protect you. But he's not. And I say this, that, see, that Bible is your bondage. It's not something that could help you. It's not magic. I think the magic is in you, because you're made up of energy. And you have some people who have the power of the mind. They're people who know how to do certain things. And with these, what I've been mentioning in the past few videos, late last year, 2017, that the Super Soldier program, and that they do satanic ritual abuse on these kids. And when you satanically abuse them, like drowning them, things like that was happening, or beating them unconsciously, it triggers something in their spiritual development, the third eye, or your other senses beyond your five senses of taste, touch, sight, smell, that other sense, that sixth sense. It increases that development, because you want to get out of your physical senses, and get into that other dimension that doesn't have any feelings. And that's the spiritual part that gets developed. And that could cause, some people could, in this one movie I saw, they had the power to look at someone and to push them with their mind, or to choke them with it. It was amazing. It was disgusting. But like Hollywood, it shows you things, and it makes it look like it's just make-believe fiction. But you have people who have these abilities, according to these movies and these documentaries that are discussing them, why they're doing this satanic torture, because it enables them to develop this other sense or powers, abilities. And you have people who tap into these abilities of others and use it as a weapon against their enemies, or to benefit from it. And I think that's what's happening with these children. And here, this Jesus character, this Bible, let's say an Old Testament people, they taught things and what to do, but even they aren't really being helped. But you do have people who go to these places of worship and giving away their energy. All this energy is being taken from them, but they can't use their own energy / power. We have to learn how to use our own power at any cost. So, when I say any cost, without hurting yourself or others, but to find out how to develop these inner powers that each one of us have, rather than giving away our power to somebody else and think that this is the holy thing to do. Give away your power to this God character. God doesn't, the true sense of God doesn't need your power, because this God character is all power. But the fact that it has to tap into your power and receive your praises or blood offering, money offering, etc. You got the idea. It shows its weakness. So there is a being that is tapping into mankind, making you believe certain things about a God that's supposed to love you, but is not doing anything for you. But I do believe that there is a force, an energy, there's something that controls this realm. Yes. There's something. And maybe there are different hierarchies of intelligences, dimensionals, that are aware of some things. And maybe they can hear you praying and intercede, just like I could be, let's say, on a stoop crying, and then someone walks by me and hands me a tissue or say, hey, what's wrong, or do you need help with something? You know what I'm saying? So you have in the physical realm people who could intercede and help you when they're able to help you, and then you have people or beings, entities on the dimensional level who can hear you and intervene. I think that's what's going on. As above, so below. With this dimension, that dimension, it's all the same. But hopefully that you're able to tap into the one that helps you, that is unselfish. You have selfish people and you have unselfish people who are willing to help. So I guess when you do pray, and I call prayer like tapping into the dimensionals to, energetically of that dimensional energy that is receptive to your tuning in. Hopefully you get something that's compassionate to hear you. So I guess when you pray with good intent that the being that is loving and kind, tap into that energy, and you verbalize it. My intent is to communicate with goodness, purity, and blah, blah, blah. And all negative energies are barred from this communication. You give it an intent and ask for protection, energetically through verbalizing it. Not just thinking it, but to actually verbalize, because that intent, vibration guts in the atmosphere, and it's communicated. So that's my advice about that. And no, I'm not any expert about spiritual warfare, things like that, but I'm just sharing you what I believe and my experiences, and for you to investigate about your life and about the belief system you believe in. There are people who are being tortured, yet outwardly they look like goodly people. They're even in the church or synagogue or mosque, etc. And they're no different than you. And I realized growing up, I thought that somebody else was better off than me, and finding out that even though that person looked a certain way, their life was far from perfect, and their own families are doing those horrific things to them. Yes, I say this in order for you all, black, white, yellow, red, to be sensitive to each other, because the illusion is out there. The multiple illusions and delusions out there, and you think somebody else is better off because of X, Y, and Z. And I'm realizing now as an adult that I was wrong. I was wrong. They could be looking at me and say the same thing. I thought your life was perfect. I thought all this and that. Or maybe they think the worst of me. But either way, that the door of illusion is being opened. And once you see the reality, you grab hold onto it and learn from the principle of that error that was made, and gather that truth and share that truth that you learned, or that principle that you learned that is valuable, and tell other people. My way of telling people is through this medium, through YouTube. So, let me know what you think. You could comment below and share this video with your friends, family member that you think could relate to this. You can subscribe to my channel and to give me the thumbs up. Take care. Be safe.